Hello, everyone. This is Anas Ahmed, and today we have Tom Williams, a business coach and mentor who's been, for years helping people out in business for startups, founders. And today we have him, and we are going to ask a lot of questions to him. So let's meet Tom Williams. So let me introduce myself a little bit again. My name is Anas, as you know, and I am basically user experience product designer. But at the same time, I interview these business coaches, mentors, and actually career professionals to share with my audience about their experiences, their tips, their how do they help the other people out, and maybe our audience can get learn something from them. So it's a short casual kind of a discussion, but we I try to be like help the audience as much as I can, because that's what I've been doing for the past like few months. Actually, it's been a year. So I've been started my YouTube channel and then LinkedIn, and then I started some few small startups as well, and I'm working on it. So yeah, hopefully I would share that in soon with you as well. When it's something MVP is ready, and yeah, it's good to see you. But this podcast is more about you. And can you introduce yourself? So can you introduce yourself to our audience? What do you do and how do you do?
How did you, just before we start on this, how did you find me? How did you come across me?
I came across your LinkedIn as business coach and mentor, and I was
Okay.
interested. I was interested, okay, to discuss with you. It's such a senior and experienced person that maybe our audience would be very intrigued to listen from you. And I thought this would be a great chance to talk to you. And actually, I saw your book as well, so I would
Uh-huh.
like to know about that as well.
Yeah, that's that one there.
Yeah, yeah, startup scalable scale. Yeah, that's a very
Yeah.
interesting title.
I've started something else that might be of interest to your audience, and as I've created an AI clone of myself as a business coach. I call it Scale Up Sherpa.
Nice. Scale up Sherpa.
The idea of having a Sherpa who knows the route and has been up the mountain before to help you climb your business summit. And I'm happy to offer your audience a free test of that if they would like it.
How did you get into this business coach mentor field, and what's your education background, and how do you climb up into this ladder? Can you explain to us?
Pretty much by accident. I started as a scientist. I studied pharmacology, and I was doing some post university research when one day I realised I really didn't want to spend the rest of my life in the lab. So I looked around and I found a job with a British pharmaceutical company, GSK, and initially started working for them in the medical science area.
Mm-hmm.
But one day they put me on the advertising committee to keep their marketing people on track. But I found that I really enjoyed marketing and coming up with creative ideas for marketing and advertising. So, to the horror of my superiors and my parents, at about age 23, I jumped out of science and into their marketing department. And we are going back many years now. They had a new product to launch that was a complicated new medicine, and I thought we really need to find an expert to tell the story on video, because video cassettes had just come out in Australia, and I thought that would be a great way for the sales reps to take the story on video around to the GPs. I ended up making the video for the company and decided that making videos was a bit more fun than anything else they'd been giving me. So I left to start a video production company with a colleague, and that sort of started my entrepreneurial wheels turning over. And over the years, I had 5 different businesses, including with exits, including a investment management company that I sold to HSBC. And I went back to my science roots and took a biotech from a startup to a float on the Australian Stock Exchange. After that, I got into education for a while, and I was teaching scientists and engineers how to commercialise their research, and realised that I was essentially teaching entrepreneurship skills, and started to get people asking me to coach them for their businesses. And for the last 6 or 7 years, I've been just doing, I would say, general business principle coaching, helping people who start as experts in some area. Often they feel that all they have to do is provide a great service in their area of expertise, but then after a while they realise, hang on, now I've got to understand marketing and sales, I've got to understand finance, systems, who do I hire first, how do I get a team to work together well, how do I cope with everything without burning out, managing the cash flow, and not just having a more stressful job than the one that I might have left when I started my own business. So that's really that's how I sort of got to where I am, more or less, following curiosity and opportunity in a fairly accidental way.
Yeah. All right, that's very interesting. And to be honest, I whenever I've interview business owners and entrepreneurs, they kind of start from somewhere else, and they got an accident, and they try to they found their interest in something else, and sometimes people like to follow that journey. And so what do you think about those people? Like, for example, there's this person who's working in the lab still, and he's earning good, and he's making good money, but still he's not feeling the kick of, like, he wants to do something else, but at the same time he's comfortable to his life, and he feels safe, and that obviously there is a comfort. So how do you come out to that comfort zone and try to follow your dreams, the things that you are interested in, because that's something people are scared of and are very afraid of, that maybe you're leaving your comfort zone or your money, and follow your the passion and things like that. How do you start with that? How do you build foundation for
Well, you definitely are leaving your comfort zone.
that? Yeah.
So you do have to understand that you're going out into the cold world with less clothes on, less protection. I think, particularly while you're relatively young, it's good to take chances in your career and explore. And if you really have a passion for something, you will put the effort in, and you will seek out how to make it happen. But you shouldn't imagine it's going to be easy. And I think it's wise to look for a mentor or a coach or some other peers who've been there a little bit ahead of you on the journey to give you some guidance and help you avoid some of the traps along the way, because it's certainly not an easy journey.
Right. So when you are looking for a business coach or something like that, what do you what do you have to see? For example, for me, even though I am right now is juggling between entrepreneurship and my job, and there are a lot of stuff. I'm just providing consultancy to companies and startups in terms of design, but still I'm working with a contract with some companies. So how do you find those business coaches, and how do you even afford it? Because people get scared. So um, how do you see that?
Yeah, look, a lot of people do start off having a side hustle,
Yeah.
um, and I think you've got to, the most important thing when you're starting a business is, have you got something that people will be excited to pay for?
Yeah.
Have you got a value proposition that they're happy to hand over their wallets to to subscribe to or to pay for, or whether it's a service or a product? So I call it the entrepreneur's trap. The trouble with starting a business is you are excited about it and you can rush into launching your new product or your service before you have really discovered
Hmm.
what your audience actually wants and needs, and have tuned what you're going to offer enough to get what they call product market fit.
Hmm.
So it's tempting to rush something out there only to discover that it's not quite right and you don't have enough paying customers. So I think you've got to go through a process of working out who your likely customers are, and spending a lot of time talking to those people, finding out what their real frustrations and problems and needs are, and seeing whether they're excited about your possible solution. Um, that'll save you time and money if you happen to be going down the wrong track. And those conversations in themselves might highlight another problem that people have that they'd be delighted to pay to solve, that you might not have thought of, that you are capable of coming up with a solution for. Um, so I think it's it's recognizing what sometimes some famous products and services started because people were frustrated with a situation themselves. Like the founder of Netflix, for example, was frustrated with having to pay for the late return of video cassettes to the local store, and so he decided he was going to try and find a solution to that. Um, uh, so I think if you've been a frustrated customer yourself, that's often a good way to think of an idea, or else you hear a story from a colleague or friend about something that's totally frustrated them, that they haven't been able to find a solution for, and
Hmm.
you figure out how to solve it.
Right. So that's very interesting, and um, in my experience, this exactly is very true. And product market fit is one of the most important part when you are obviously launching your product. You have to see and ask questions to the right people. So what I mean, like, don't go into details, but what do you think was the best way to find the product market fit? Or there some strategy, or is there some kind of good exercises that you should do before getting into or maybe checklist that you should see these things before continuing to the product? It's just checklist kind of stuff.
Well, like I said, I think you start with an idea, and then you start you start talking to people about, what do they think of that idea, or is that really a problem for them? What you're really looking for is a problem that's important to them that they can't otherwise solve, at least satisfactorily, at the moment. You start with conversations, then you might, invite a dozen people to a lunch and have a longer conversation with them about where they're at in their particular industry, what problems, frustrations, and needs they have, and see if there's some commonality. If you have an email list, you can send out a questionnaire. You can put an ad, or ask people via social media whether they'd like to join a waiting list to hear about a new product or a new service that you have in mind, and see how much of a response you get to that. And then, if you're getting good positives from those early inquiries, then, you move to the minimum viable product, which I'm sure you know about, and you go back really with your sort of easiest version and see what they think about that, and refine that before you spend the big bucks on a market launch of some kind.
Right. Thanks. That's very good. All right. So I have read somewhere while I was researching a few things. So you openly admit that your dirts taught you more than your successes. Like, can you break us down the most painful lesson, one of those failures, that force you to learn that how those failures are giving you the lesson or something that, yeah.
Well, building on the theme that we've been talking about, as I said, I've made this mistake myself. I got into business with a guy, again going back a few years, who had an idea for a little guidebook for cities. Like, the first one we did was for London, and it was a little pocket guidebook to London that we called the London Locator. And inside that, it had a series of fold-out maps that were colour-coded with all of the main things that a tourist would want. The cafes, the underground rail stations, the hotels, the museums and art galleries and monuments and things like that. The way it was done was very clever in that it just packed a lot of information into a very small space that you could pop into your pocket, so that as you travelled around a city like London, Paris, or Delhi for the first time, you could pull it out and just check where you are and what you wanted to do. So we had that designed and printed, and 10,000 copies, and then we put those in bookshops around Australia. And I also tried to get both Qantas and British Airways to buy it to give to travellers who were going on the plane from Australia to London. And they told me, oh no, they weren't willing to pay for it. They expected that sort of thing to be given away to them. And then in the bookshops, we discovered that sales were slow, and eventually we did the research to find out that people were either looking for something much more glossy, like an art book that had beautiful photographs of cathedrals with cutaway diagrams of what was going on inside them, or they were looking for something like Lonely Planet, which had stories of out-of-the-way secret places that most travellers wouldn't know about, that were sort of hidden secrets. But we sort of fell into the crack in between those two well-known sort of formats, and even though the people who actually bought the the little pocketbook liked it. It didn't have the shelf appeal to get the sales that we needed. So that was pretty painful. We've gone through most of a year to make it, to create it and get 10,000 copies printed.
Yeah.
Um, so, hence, I guess you've got to do that deeper research.
Right. That's interesting because yeah, and also I
I'm
think.
sorry, I've lost your sound.
All right, sorry, I got on mute. So, um, what do you think about because when you do research on this, like what people are liking or what's not, but the buying power, does that affect the service or product? Because if you are something launching something and maybe the audience does not have that kind of buying power, or, so how do you manage those? For example, they know they have the need, but at the same time they don't have such kind of buying power if you are offering some kind of service or product. So should you lower your price, or should you find another audience for that?
Well, for the most part, if price is a problem, they're just not seeing enough value in what you offer. Um, um, do you have an example? Do you want to talk about a project of yours? We could
Yeah. So for
do a little
example,
workshopping.
yeah, like in my early careers, um, like most of the business owners come to me like, I need a website, and I quote them some couple of $1,000, and they're like, this is too expensive for us. Even though that's valuable for them, I told them that it's going to be um, generate more profit, more revenue to you. And obviously this is not just a website. I always offer something at that from the start, that not just a website but the overall marketing campaign and flow. So um, I just don't sell website. I sell the more system that brings sales and revenue. So I always ask them, so they feel like this is expensive. So they don't have the buying power to afford me. So I usually do is I find another target audience for those kind of values. But how do you deal with that kind of client that they know they need it, they understand the value, but still they are not don't have the value, or maybe they are starting out, they don't have the buying power to hire some that kind of professional.
Well, a couple of things occur to me. They may not be your ideal client. Your ideal client really is someone who needs what you have, is easy to work with, and is willing to pay the price that you need to make it a profitable business for you. So it may be that you're trying to sell it to people who are too early in their business journey to see the value and have the cash flow to pay for it. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that you need to rearrange the offer so that there's possibly some kind of guarantee attached to it, or there's a kicker based on the value that they get from it. So that you could say, for example, okay, well, normally this would cost, let's say, $5,000, but you've only got 1,000. So, okay, I'll do it for you for 1,000, but you have to transparently show me the results that you get, and if it achieves a certain level that we agree to, then you're going to pay me $6,000 instead of the $5,000. So you are sharing the risk to make it possible for them to get started. But if it works as you expect, you actually get a little more, a little bit extra down the track. That's the kind of creativity in your offer that might help solve that problem.
So okay, that's interesting approach. And yeah, I was listening to one of those videos as well from Chris Doe. I don't know if you know him or not. He's a designer and award-winning designer. So I was listening to him. He also kind of told us a similar kind of approach, that to share the risk, because that's where you can show them the value and then you can charge. That's a very interesting approach. My third question, like the main question, would be is, should the founders, always have to be CEO, or how does a startup founder choose his or her role on the company to accelerate the growth and to see how they fit? For example, if I got an idea, I implemented it, but at the same time, I don't feel like I should be the CEO, or maybe there's no one, but initially I started to be CEO, but I don't feel like I'm a good person to be the CEO. So how, there are two questions basically. Should the founders always have to be a CEO, or should there not?
Um, no, not always the CEO. If you think of the key roles in a business, there's someone who creates the product or the service, the innovator, if you like.
Hmm.
There's someone who gets the sales, the business development uh, person, if you like. There's someone who delivers the service or produces the product and delivers that. There's someone who collects the payment, and manages the cash. And down the track, there are other things like human relations, legal, IT, etc. But they can all be outsourced. But the key skills are creating something worthwhile, selling it, delivering it, and getting paid for it.
Hmm.
So I think it's valuable to think which of those four key areas is your natural area of talent. Now, it's not often that the one person is good at all those four things.
Yeah.
So, um, and then beyond that, a true CEO, would be employing someone else to do all of those four roles: the design, the business development, the delivery, and the finance. While they think more strategically and entrepreneurially about growing the overall business and managing the people. So, generally speaking, founders have to recognise where their skills are and where their gaps, and look for other people who can help fill in their gaps. And those other people who you want them to be naturally gifted at the areas where you're not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. When I was like, I'm working on this new idea. So we have a couple of friends, and we got this problem, and we are trying to build a solution on that. So we are doing the part of jobs right now that we are good at and what we do. So right now we're getting to that step that we need to decide who is going to be the CEO, who is going to be the CTO and stuff like that. So I am personally feel like I'm a good designer, but I'm good at selling. But at the same time, I feel like, but I should not be in sales. I should be in the creative. I should be in most probably in product development or technical side. But at the same time, I'm good at communication, so maybe I can help the CEO in the future, but I cannot be in the CEO position. So that's why I was asking, like, maybe because that idea was coming from me, and I was like, this idea is from me, but I'm not good maybe at selling that idea. I might be able to convince few peoples, maybe who know me, but selling to the stranger is another whole level of skills. So that's something I was trying to figure it out. So that's why I asked this question. Uh, that's something that I want.
Yeah, yeah. So, if you go to think of Apple, you've got to figure out whether you're the Steve Wozniak or the Steve Jobs,
Yeah,
and work in your area of natural talent. Really, I think
yeah. That,
that's the truth. Yeah. What do you want to tell me a little bit more about your idea?
um, it's more about it's in the healthcare industry.
Yeah,
That's I can tell you about because it's something that is very niche in my country, and there is this problem that needs to be solved in most of the hospitals and clinics. That's not solved properly. Like there have been other softwares and things like that, but um, the way when we try to go there and use their system or their applications, they have a lot of problems. So we find potential problems, and because I'm a designer and I know how to solve things and how to make things beautiful, so I'm trying to find those gaps and trying to fill all those problems. And because the problem is right now in the industry is not having a properly built design that is serving for patients. Is a very hectic system. It's very complicated systems out there. So what are we trying to do is to simplify and to make things so easy that you don't have to think twice when you have to click the button. So that's what we are trying to do. So you don't have to. Because obviously, there's some patient he doesn't want to get into the complicated details and stuff like that. He just wants some few things, few taps, and just maybe get to the doctor or some things like that. So there are a lot of things, a lot of potential gaps over here, and local problems is different than the problems outside from our country. So that's what we're trying to build on. So that's something that I'm working on. So hopefully,
who is the user and who is the payer?
yeah, payer would be the SEOs like healthcare organizations or clinics that is going to pay us, and the users mostly would be the patients who would get our applications for free, but the payer would be the because the implementation would come from obviously from the clinics who is going to use our software in terms of managing their clinics. But the problem is still like I have tried like 15 or 16 softwares that they're currently in the market, and obviously they're not getting much more sales as well. And they are not because they're like I feel like when I use them, I feel like I'm in the 90s. There's just so clunky UI, and it just the world is shifted. So that's what we are
It's
trying to do.
it's it's complicated when the user and the payer are different,
Yeah, I know.
different people.
Yeah,
And I'm familiar with the medical world, and quite often, you might have, something that you want to sell into hospitals that the doctors will, you know, say they want, but then the account manager, who makes the final financial decisions, will knock on the head. So you've
yeah,
kind of got to think. You've got to talk to both the user and the payer and see what their frustrations and needs are, and see whether you can solve both independently
yeah,
with the same system. Because if either one of them doesn't want it, then it
yeah,
won't
exactly.
it
That's
won't happen.
yeah, you are absolutely right on this. This is why what we are building is actually a great thing for a patient, but what we are trying to do is to save costs for the hospitals or clinics because that's what they are interested in. That's why they would buy the software because we
Yes.
are going to save the cost for them and like the efficiency of their system. So that's how they see the value. They see how much they are going to save the money yearly or monthly. That's what our main like USP is, because I'm sure like even if the patient love the app, if the hospital doesn't see or clinic doesn't see any profit, why would they buy it from us? There's no reason to buy. So we are coming up with ideas and implementing it, that we have to make the hospital believe that we are going to obviously save the money, cost, and most probably promote those small clinics that, for example, dentists or something like that, to they want to promote themselves, so they can do that on our system as well. So they see the value, they see what they are getting, and at the same time, the most frustrated, the patients, they also get the benefit from it. So that's what we're trying to build today.
It would be great to try and find one place that would, that would give you a go, and to use them as a case study
Yes.
to get the data to then be able to show, well, here's the real world savings to other hospitals or other clinics. Yeah, it's
Yeah, we have two or three customers.
complicated area.
Yeah. Yeah, we
And
have.
the other complication is that even if you have something that is cheaper and better,
Mhm.
sometimes various people in the organisation will resist having to change what they're used to using, or they might say, "Well, we've invested in this, and it's still got another 3 years to pay off what we invested to make the original investment worthwhile." So you can run into those problems as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's harder to sell locally over here because people don't want to change easily. They don't want to change their system, or they even they are working on their like receipts, and like they don't have any digital system. They are resisting digital
Yeah, yeah.
transformation. So that's a
Yeah.
challenge. That's definitely a challenge. But
You've chosen a tough area.
yeah, actually, this is so frustrating. Like every family I see in my in my acquaintance and everywhere, they have this problem. They understand, they are frustrated with the systems. We're like, let's try something, start with small, and let's see what can happen. um, because that's a very it's a tough area that I agree with you, but that's something, it's because it's tough, that's why there's less competition as well. So not everybody can penetrate into this. So
Sure.
yeah. So, oh, by the way, I'm just, I don't know how good this book is. I'm reading this 4 Hour Work Week. I don't know if you can see the 4 Hour
Oh,
Work Week.
yes. Yes.
Have you read it?
I have. Somehow I've still ended up with about a 50-hour week myself. I
Exactly.
just seem to invent new things to do.
Yeah. I mean, like, it is possible for few people, but I'm not sure. I'm still reading this book, but I'm not sure it's for everybody. Like, it's very for very few people who likes to who has this digital business or maybe marketing business, who can learn it from anywhere in the world. But as it's still, it requires a lot of time to do something.
Yes. I was listening to Elon Musk the other day, as I'm sure we all do from time to time, and
Hmm.
he was talking about how in 5 years' time, with robots and AI, things will be done so easily and so rapidly that people will only have to work a couple of hours a day. I'm afraid I don't believe it. I think we will invent new things to busy ourselves with.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, few things are changing after the revolution of AI, and people who you don't know how to build, but now right now they're actually trying to build something, and yeah, so like testing their ideas, even though
Mm.
that does not look great, but at least they are starting. They have some starting point to kickstart their something. That's
Yeah,
something.
well, I've created an AI clone of myself.
Yeah,
Tried to put myself out of business. A few years ago, I wrote a book called
yeah,
Startup, Scale Up, or Screw Up, which is about my adventures and misadventures in business and the principles that I've learned through trial and error, mostly how to grow and scale a business. And so over the last 6 months, I've been busy creating an AI business clone of myself. Um, and I must say, it does a remarkably good job.
mhm,
Um, I call it the scale up Sherpa because I do think that building a business is a bit like scaling a high altitude mountain, and you need a Sherpa and a team and the tool and the equipment and all the gear to take undertake that sort of endeavour. And I think often what's missing for entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs even is a system, like you would have if you were going to tackle climbing a high mountain. You wouldn't just stroll up, and start walking. You'd have a structure and a team and people and training and gear and tools to ensure the success of it. And I think to start and grow a business and succeed without burning out, you need a full team of support. So I'm actually going to create an online community that includes AI tools, live coaching, and peer support um, to to have a sort of business success system, if you like, for entrepreneurs to give them the best chance they possibly can of succeeding and solving their challenges along the way.
right. So, if I want to read your book, where do I get it?
Well, it's available on Amazon,
Hmm.
and as I mentioned before, at the moment I've got a test beta version of my AI coaching clone available, and I'm happy to give you a link
Hmm.
for you and your audience to try that out if they would like to have a go.
All right. I mean, like obviously, I would love to share that. Like, is it in like for example, is in alpha, beta, or what kind of phase it in? Like, you do you think it's right now ready, or you do you think like it's in the testing right now?
I think the tool itself is actually ready. I'm just so there's an open coaching tool, and I'm also building what I call little digital Sherpas. So little 15-minute um, digital quizzes that will then do something for you that's a step along the way to um, taking you up the ladder or climbing your business mountain. So, for example, a quiz that will help you define who your ideal client is, which will then help you um, think about and create your irresistible offer, if you like, something that your ideal client is going to say yes to, and then a plan to go to market, other tools to forecast your finances, to think about who you're going to hire, how to build a team, and quite a few others that will sort of be, if you like, stepping stones on a logical sequence to help you build and scale your business.
All right, great. That's amazing. But I had written one more question that is related to the startup again, but That is the you say is the real challenge is not about the funding, but it's more about nailing the customer problem that we discussed right now. But why do still startups, mess these things, even though they know they have to find a problem and find the right solution, but they go for investors and waste their money and time and things like that. So why does this keep happening? Because I don't know why people don't understand this, even though they know, but they don't understand. I don't know. This is the difference. So what gap kind of you see in this, and what do you want to teach people about this?
I think it's human nature. Everybody is a customer, if you like, right? So there's the person who's going to the end person who's going to use the service or the product. If you're looking for investors, they're also a customer. So you've got to think about, what are their needs? What are they frustrated about? What are they looking for? You've got to solve that. Um, if you're hiring staff, in a sense, they're a customer for you. But I think, why would somebody want to come and work with me? What are they going to get out of it? You've got to understand that. So that perspective of thinking about everyone as a customer and trying to understand in a deep way what their needs and problems are and what's going to get them excited, I think is a really essential skill that anyone starting a business has to think through.
Most founders I see is terrified of leaving their businesses. Like for example, if someone I'm a founder and even if I want to go to vacation for a month, I would be scared, right? Like, would my team would be able to handle? Would my company survive without me or something like that?
Mhm.
Um, and in a previous time, there's this person over here who tried to teach us that your business should be not attached to you, but it should be automated. It should be like, if even if you are not there, it should be work independently without you. I heard this kind of phrases. And so how is what is the operational ultimate operational test? What I say is business must pass before a founder can finally take off, like even if he goes for a year vacation and the company would survive. Like that's a very important question for people who had already built something, but they feel like they're a part of that, and if they are not there, it's not going to survive it.
Yeah, a very good question. And I think that there are at least two, if not three, elements to it. The first one is that you need other people or AI. You need a system of some kind to run the essential elements of the business, find the customers, deliver the service, get paid. So you have to create a system that will look after those three key areas
Mhm.
before you can take that long holiday. Now, either you're employing people to do that, or you're outsourcing it to people to do that, or you're creating AI agents to do that. But those three essential things, get the customers, provide the service, get paid, have to be able to be done without you being there, um, you know, 8 hours a day. Then, I think what stops people from doing that, often founders have trouble delegating. They get caught up in um, being, if you like, the guru who solves all the problems, who keeps the balls juggling and has the answers. So people come to you, what should I do about this? And ask, oh, well, do this because you know it off the top of your head. And somehow you get a bit of a dopamine hit and a bit of energy from being the person who has the answers. And you also feel, well, those other people, they don't, they're not going to be able to do it as well as I can. So you have to get past those two concerns. You have to be willing to give up the little dopamine hit, and you have to allow people to make mistakes um, when you delegate things to them and allow them to take a bit more time, make a few mistakes, provided it's not a crisis that you have to solve yourself. You have to step back and say, no, I'm sorry, but that's not good enough yet. Go and look at A, B, and C, and come back and do it again and show me tomorrow. Take a bit more time. If you're willing to do that, then you get to the stage where you can take that holiday. Um, I had a client actually who um, was running a medical facility, and his family wanted to go overseas for a year, and we figured out that he needed to do all of those things that we've discussed. So we found the right people to look after sales, service delivery, and finance, and figured out some training and some delegation, and then he was able to go overseas, and he just came back for a week every second month. And was delighted to find that the place did run without him, provided you have good people in those three key areas.
That's good. I mean, I have met all of the people in my life who are scared, and not scared. They're like they don't want to leave the business alone. Like they think they are part of it, and I always feel like you don't have to attach to your business like that. Yeah, it's a part of you, but it's not you, and you have to make time for yourself as well. Even though if it's business even if it's a job, it's not like your life. It's just a job, and whatever the time you follow, because you have to be honest with it, be work honestly with loyalty, but all the time you don't have to worry those things in the office when you are trying to spend time with the family, things like that. So these things that happens with a lot of people here, as because most of the owners are not just the founders, but owners who are always involved in these like small items in businesses, and they don't like to delegate stuff and to trust their employees. It happened with me previously in the previous past few companies that I worked with. I was not comfortable. That's why I left. So because obviously you hired me for those stuff to do it right, and then you asked me to do it your way. Then this doesn't make sense. Two people views in such kind of scenario. If you hire me, let me do the job. But if you hire me
Yes,
to follow your instructions, there's something very weird for me. Even if, because I'm in a creative industry mostly, so it just
yeah,
doesn't go well with that.
yes.
uh, I don't know.
It's a classic problem that Michael Sherpa talked about years ago with the E-myth that entrepreneurs, or would-be entrepreneurs, get stuck working in the business instead of on the business.
Yeah,
So spending all your time in daily operations, you're never going to be able to take a holiday. You've got to get other people or outsource or AI to do the daily operations so that you can have some clear air to think strategically about how to grow the business, and take a bit of time off and not burn out.
yeah, that's right. So, do you have any advice for startup founders, like early startup founders or maybe business owners? Any key advice that they might have to look for before starting?
Well, I think the three big mistakes that I see people making are: one, they think that all they have to do is provide a great service. Um, but actually that is quite separate from growing your business. So, as well as providing a great service, you've got to learn. You've got to learn how to create demand, how to get the customers. You've got to learn operational systems. You've got to learn financial control, um, and managing people. Then, as we've been talking about, you've got to learn not to do it all yourself, to delegate and get other people so that you can float above it as a CEO and have the time to think. And then finally, I think you need a structure for success. You need a system of people, equipment, tools, like a coach, like a peer group, like some AI tools to support you on what is, after all, might be a very exciting journey, but it's also a tough journey. And if you underestimate that, you're likely to die frozen on the foothills of the Himalayas.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great advice. I think it's been an hour almost. It's been a great talk with
All
you.
right. Thank you very
Yeah,
much, Anas. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
yeah,
We'll no doubt we'll stay in touch, and I wish you success with your own business too.
yeah. Definitely. Thank you. It was same for me. It was very nice to meet you, and I would like to stay in touch with you for the future podcast. Maybe a future. Maybe I would need help from you in business. Yeah. So, yeah, I would like to add your book link into our description and your AI scale of Sherpa on the link, so you guys can check it out on and see how it can help you. So I think that's it for today. That's a wrap. Take care. Nice to meet you, and see you on the other side.
Thanks a lot, Anas. See you
Thanks.
later.
Bye.
Bye.